do this in prime time, under the bright lights for you on the sidelines. And fans in the stands keep a doubly pride high. The gridiron fly guys, the green and the gold, yeah, they call it the franchise. The gizmos, the miles, the moves, the Kepleys, old spaghetti legs, Ricky Ray, Willie Bless, and whoever comes next to bring back the chip and add another brick to the legacy. Cause it's double E over everything. Double E's a legacy. Double E over everything. Double E, we rising up.
The two hottest teams in the Canadian Football League, they clash as the Winnipeg Blue Bombers come to Commonwealth Stadium to battle the Edmonton Elks, led once again by Trey Ford. Each coming off bye weeks, Edmonton looks to continue running down the throats of their opponents, while the Bombers D aims to force the West to go through Winnipeg in November to get to the Grey Cup. It's the stretch drive in the CFL regular season as Week 16 will come to a close. Elks Bombers Saturday Night Football, but first, this is the Green and Gold Kickoff Show live from Centric Casino Sports Bar and Lounge, where every day is game day. Live on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Tune in, iHeartRadio. Those watching on YouTube. Iwanyk, Jay Milne with you here at Centric Casino, just off Fort Road, where you could come down, enjoy a quick bites, get on a game quickly, get on the ponies, get on the LRT. Then after that, head down to the game, where they're expecting about 26,000 people tonight at Commonwealth Stadium to watch this. And you could come back here afterwards and enjoy the post-game show with us here at Century Casino. Let's get right into this, and let's take a look at the Edmonton Elks starting lineup. And like I mentioned, Trey Ford getting the start at quarterback for the Edmonton Elks, and the men protecting him from left until right. Ivy, Foucault, Cordy, Richards, and Boyko, the receiving core. Lewis, Gittens Jr., Mitchell, Jones, and Cobb. Kevin Brown, the starting running back. And they do have a fullback today, Shots, scheduled to start. On the defensive side of things, the D-line, Curtis, Pelly, Oakman, and Brown. The linebacking core, Morgan in between Anderson and Moncrief. In the secondary is Gray, Bratton, Purifoy, Jackson, and Bynum. Beatty kicks, and Julian does punt. I will momentarily let Jay come in to get to the injury reports. He's just helping someone else out here. The injury report, Mr. Milne.
Yes, yeah. Javon Leake is out. Left practice early this week. Hope everything's okay there. Hergen Mayala is also out. Marcus Lewis is out, but AC Leonard is back in on the defensive line. The Double E re-signed AC Leonard back to add some depth to their defensive front four, which in an odd turn of events, they're dressing 8 defensive linemen tonight on the defensive side. So obviously they are looking to have bodies coming in. That's when a defensive line is at its best, is when you can move players in and out, catch a breather, go back in, because they've got to contend with a pretty solid running back tonight in Brady Oliveira.
The Winnipeg Blue Bombers, I don't have a depth chart for those watching on YouTube, as Winnipeg didn't post one on their website for today. The players to watch, though, in this game from the Bombers, Zach Collaros, still their starting quarterback. You mentioned Brady as their running back. Kenny Lawler seems to always have good games against the Edmonton Elks, so he is out there. And defensively, they still got a Willie Jefferson out there. No Adam Bighill, but they still got Willie Jefferson. And that Winnipeg defense has really, they've been a key as to why the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have turned things around this season. Them, like the Edmonton Elks, both rough starts to the season. Bombers was only 0-4. The Elks, they were 0-7. Both teams, though, have turned around. And as I said at the start, these are the two hottest teams in the Canadian Football League meeting at Commonwealth Stadium. The CFL put out their power rankings, and they had them 1-2. Winnipeg 1, Edmonton 2. There's no argument with that. Like, these truly, if anyone's been watching the last 6-7 weeks of the Canadian Football League, you cannot make a case for anyone else to be better than these two teams.
No, it's very clear to see, and both have a different path to get there. Edmonton's defense has stepped up where they started out poorly. It seems like Winnipeg's offense is now starting to click, although they started out very poorly. So it'll be an interesting matchup. I mean, it's going to be hard to say what to expect, because Edmonton's rushing game is for real as well, and more real than Winnipeg's, which is largely dependent on Brady Oliveira. Chris Streveler not in the game tonight, obviously, right?
Yeah, so the short yardage will be something to pay attention to.
Something to watch. That's a big part of their game. Chris Streveler
100%.
led the CFL in rushing touchdowns with Dakota Prukop second to that. So not having that player in your lineup, it may seem like it's not a big deal having a short yardage
Edmonton knows. Edmonton knows the need of that short yardage guy.
Well, you do when he's their leading quarterback, right?
Well, Streveler leads the Canadian Football League when it comes to touchdown rushes. Overall at 10, Tommy Stevens at 9, Dakota Prukop at 8, Dustin Crum at 7, David Mackey at 6. I don't know, and then Shea Patterson at 6 as well.
That's got to be the weirdest stat, going. Rushing. Isn't that weird?
Does the CFL need to look at doing something with that, or is there anything that you could do something with that where...
Why? I mean,
you get so close and it's always a quarterback scoring touchdowns. And that's not an exciting play for fans to watch. That your team gets to 1 or 2 and then it's just the QB sneak into the end zone.
It's one of these things that it's working right now. It's like the tush push in the NFL with the Philadelphia Eagles. Other teams are embodying that play call from short yardage. So I don't know that it's long term. It just takes one quarterback to get their head taken off and out for the remainder of the season, and that'll probably...
But these are the backups that they're using, because that's why that was the switch we saw. They used to, like Ricky Ray used to take short yardage.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, Kevin Glenn got hurt. They go to Winnipeg, goes to the Grey Cup with Ryan Dinwiddie as their quarterback, who had never played, and now we always see the backup quarterback come in and do it. Like, I'm looking at the CFL right now, and this might be just the rushing games not getting it done as much, but you look at the top, there's a bunch of players tied at T9 for touchdowns rushing. The top 13 guys who have rushed for a touchdown this year, there are 5 non-quarterbacks, and one of them is actually a fullback who goes in as a quarterback. It's kind of weird. It's kind of weird.
I agree. And by the way, the reason I was off camera there earlier was our sweet Merle. We've seen her before. She came in last time and said, you guys.
There's no Frank.
No, she's no Frank, and she's certainly not Sandy. And
we're worried about Sandy.
We are officially worried about Sandy. So Merle said, last time I was here, you boys said that those Eskimos were going to win. Everybody here calls them the Eskimos, which is kind of the way it is. And she says, and you know what?
Look at the age of the crowd.
Yeah, you were right. And I said, okay, so what do you think for tonight? And she says, I don't follow the team. But, sweet little babushka here, betting the horses.
I see you pulled up Canada West stats. As the Green and Gold yesterday had a big win at home against Regina.
Well, the reason I did is because they do their short yardage different.
Do they?
They bring in their third string running back to take the snap, and
it's
usually
very similar to then the BC going to the fullback.
Yeah, that which. It's come see, come saw. I mean, it's really the end goal is you want a touchdown.
Mr. Fancy over here.
Don't say that too loud. Someone might hear you. But you want points. The CFL wants points. They're getting points. It just so happens that the leading touchdown rushers in the CFL are all backup quarterbacks. It's just funny. I've never seen that before. But
on the show today, by the way, weather for the game, 17 degrees, going to drop to about 15, so a very coolish temperature, that fall temperature. Wind, not much of a factor, coming from the south, 10 kilometers an hour. This is football weather. Football weather, baby. Football weather.
This is beautiful football weather. This is what you live for.
Autumn officially tomorrow, 6:35 in the morning. We hit the fall equinox, so it works out perfect. It works perfect. I was looking at it yesterday.
Second in command to Chief Meteorologist Josh Klauschen, who, by the way,
great job with that opening.
Song is just Renee.
Oh, look who's here to say hi. To come on the Green and Gold Kickoff Show, Kevin Brown. We will hear thoughts from him. We'll get to the cool bet prop of the game, keys to the game, keys to an Elks victory predictions, and our 3 stories presented by James H. Brown. But I do quickly want to go to, we actually built an EST parlay for today's game. Haas was doing one for Winnipeg.
But you and I built this one.
So we built it, and it's not a massive one. This isn't one that we've tried to go out on the limb and be like plus 800 and go crazy. Huss had that a little bit more. Huss's Winnipeg Sports Talk parlay today is Brady rushing for over 100 yards. Kenny Lawler getting an anytime touch. Oh, no, Brady's 100 all-purpose yards. Kenny Lawler anytime touchdown, Bombers to win plus 525. We've got the Elks covering 1.5. Eugene Lewis with 4+ catches. Trey Ford with 35+ rushing yards, and just throwing for a touchdown pass. That's plus 275 at Coolbet. Click on exclusives. Nice little small thing.
I like
small
it.
thing. Being a little conservative as we go into this game. Haas could go all big, but we'll see what happens when this game is all said and done. But I want to get to our question of the game before we get to everything else. And the question for today: is it the right move to start Trey Ford over McLeod Bethel-Thompson as the Elks come out of this bye week and have won 5 of their last 6 games? It's yes or no. That's all I put up on Twitter. Jay, is this the right move to start Trey Ford over NBT?
I guess we'll find out at by 8 o'clock or 8:20. But look, Trey Ford is dynamic. He creates a lot of offense on his own. Sparks the entire team. McLeod Bethel-Thompson at the same rate, though, was playing very good football. He was not costing the green and gold victories. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say yes, it was the right move. The only thing that was hindering Trey Ford from playing, in the Labor Day game and the rematch was that they wanted to make sure this injury was completely healed. So coming out of those 2 games into a bye week, Trey Ford was the right choice, in my opinion.
We will wait and see on this game.
Well,
it is very much. I have to say
you're
now.
not saying that.
I just did.
Here's what I have to do. No, stop. Stop.
I gotta
You're
go.
the president of the Trey Ford fan club.
To me, it is. I have to get to something else.
Oh,
I have to apologize to Jarius Jackson.
Oh, okay, sure.
I have to sit here as the president of the Trey Ford fan club.
No, I want you to do like you did the victory lap. I want you to do an apology lap.
I will look at the camera. I will look at Jarius Jackson right now and say, Jarius, I apologize to you. I was wrong. I do not have faith in you as the interim head coach of the Edmonton Elks that you would go back to Trey Ford when he was healthy. I thought you would have just stuck with MBT and we would never see Trey Ford play another game with the green and gold at the very least this season. But you did it. You're starting Trey Ford. I see it on the depth chart. We're going to see it to start this game. I'm sorry, Jarius. I'm sorry.
If there was a producer back at the EST HQ, I'd say, clip that. Clip it now.
It's a gutsy call. I would go with Trey Ford because to me, there's 2 benefits of playing Trey right now. You could win still this season.
Yes.
But you're also then working on next season and the year after on the future.
And
with MBT, you're just working on this season.
No, that's a great point.
But it takes a lot of guts to go to a quarterback like MBT, who you are as a franchise paying a lot of money to, go to him who's winning you football games as of recently, and go to him and say, we're going to bench you. We're not going to play you. That's a gutsy call, especially as an interim head coach. So, or actually, maybe the interim is what helps him, is that he's kind of free knowing that he might not have a job next year no matter what. So he could do whatever the heck he wants. And
MBT may not have a job?
Jarius Jackson. Like that Jarius might be able to just come in.
No, you're wrong. And I was going to call you out during it. I was going to say, remove the interim head coach tag. For what he's done with this team, with, clearing out the room, getting rid of the big bad wolf that was in the coach's room, Jarius Jackson has done everything you would need to do to be a successful head coach. He has developed the best and most efficient run game in the CFL.
So you want to say, you give him the head coaching job?
Crown him.
So I can't go there yet for 2 reasons.
Okay.
There's 2 reasons I say you can't go there.
Yeah.
They still have there's still 5 games to go this regular
you're
season.
right.
But it's up to the next president. Tell me who the president is, and then they need to hire a general manager. And is that general manager G-Roy, or is that general manager someone else? And do not tie a president and a GM with a head coach, or a president with a GM and a head coach. So I'll say this. He's put a really good resume there for that next president and slash GM to come in and be like, yeah, we're going to keep this. We'll extend you as the head coach of this team. There's no question about that. Like, I thought when he got named interim, there was no chance he's coming back. But he's done a lot to deserve to come back. That I think if we put a poll, should Jarius Jackson be the head coach of this team next year today, if that would change
that would be interesting.
There'd be a lot saying probably yes.
Yeah.
I'm sure that would be over 50% for Jarius in favor of him. But to him going to MBT here, I think there is a little freeing though for him, knowing that whatever happens. Like he's not. I think the fact that both he doesn't have the head coaching gig for next year guaranteed, and the fact that MBT's not here next year, maybe that helps him go to this decision because his hands aren't tied or anything like that. It's a gutsy decision. I will give him that, and I'm impressed that he's gone that way.
No team in CFL history has ever started 0-7 and made the playoffs. None. Not one. If Jarius Jackson can lead this team to a playoff berth, he's your head coach. You'd be foolish to consider others.
Oh, I'd agree.
Right?
I'd agree. Because there's
that's a big if. There's still a lot to happen, and that Saskatchewan victory last night
changes a lot.
Later, that changes a lot.
I will say there's also no guaranteed. There's not that coach out there. If we did a list of the top 5 coaching candidates for head coaching jobs this year, I don't think a lot of people can name them.
Well, except regurgitating the same old names that have been through.
But I don't know if there's those guys right now. There's Paul LaPolice.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
And he wasn't that good of a head coach.
If I hear Paul LaPolice's name as a head coach one more time, I mean, hey, he had good years, he had bad years, but I don't like that. Like, you cannot find another person to run a team other than the same 5 coaches that have been regurgitated through the CFL. Maddie, I want to get into the nasty chat here. Calvin C says, is this Trey Ford's last year of his contract? Now, this is 2-part because I'll take in his next comment. Just wondering if we'll hear contract extension soon with Ford as being referred to as the future. And I assume there won't be any major contract talks before president, GM, and coach is confirmed for next season.
Yeah, I'd assume... I'd assume president would first have to come in to get all that done. I don't think Larry Thompson seems like a guy that is going to sit down and be like, let's start this negotiating. I think he's a guy that wants to get his people in place and they can deal with that. There's also no rush on that necessarily.
No, there's not. But you do have to take into consideration when Jarius Jackson had the keys to this entire team and Chris Jones was removed from the team, the resume has been very strong. Very strong.
For G-Roy?
For Jarius Jackson,
sorry. I might have misheard you.
Okay, sorry. As a Bomber fan that just tuned in, this is in the nasty chat. As a Bomber fan that just tuned in, the Elks would be crazy not to hand Jackson the coaching job and G-Roy GM. That's from Tacona Poly.
I've seen it too often where an intern just does well in that little run. They get the job and it doesn't go well.
Sure.
That is the only caution I have. Like John Schneider with the Toronto Blue Jays, everyone loved what he did as the interim. What has he done since he's got the job permanently? Now, there's a lot of other cases where you point to the interim head coach coming in and doing great things still. I think you just got to do your due diligence still. And there's 5 more games. There's 5 more games left in this season. You got to see how it goes. Let's get to our 3 storylines of this game. For James H. Brown, Alberta Injury Lawyers, the heavy hitters of injury law. When accidents happen, go to jameshbrown.com. Actually, before we jump into the 3 storylines, just hey, we're at Centric Casino Sports Bar and Lounge, where every day is game day. Come join us for the game here tonight. If you're not going to Commonwealth Stadium, the daily special, it is that prime rib sandwich for, I believe, $12.99. The game day special, cheese and jalapeno smoky for $14.99 with those waffle fries. Absolutely everything on their menu, though, is amazing. If you can't come today to Centric Casino, be sure to come by on Friday next week when the Elks and the Bombers meet again out in Winnipeg. We have an EST watch party that day, though. Reed and Jay, you guys will have the Reed Wilkins Show with Jay Milne
from
right 3 until 5, 5 until 6. You and I will do the kickoff show. We'll have the post-game show. 6 o'clock or Lager will be on special that day, starting at 3 o'clock, the start of the Reed Wilkins Show. And on top of that, you're setting up a wings eating contest.
Chicken wing challenge. So if you are listening right now, if you've been an avid listener of the Green and Gold Kickoff Show, tune in this week on the Reed Wilkins Show from 3 to 6. We will be qualifying two people per day, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, to be a part of the Chicken Wing Challenge at Century Casino Bar and Lounge.
3 storylines for this game. Trey Ford getting the start for the Edmonton Elks, going up against a Bombers defense that features Trey's brother, Terrell Ford. Trey and Terrell, I believe, both were on the EST afternoons with Hernan Salas and Joaquin Gage this week. Terrell having an amazing season with a lot of interceptions. Right now, he has been the better Ford of this season. But this Bomber defense has really done some great things. Jay, what do you think we're going to see from this Elks offense as they go up against this daunting Winnipeg defense?
It comes down to just consistency. and keeping the same game plan going that they've had, which is use the run effectively to set up the pass. Now, I am a little worried because looking at the depth chart, they've been addressing 7 offensive linemen for the last several games. Today, I only see 6. So, and the reason they were dressing 7 linemen is because they were stacking that offensive line. They were using 6 offensive linemen to open up that run game, almost a glorified or underglorified tight end, a blocking tight end. So, it'd be interesting to see what happens here. Obviously, Javon Leake is out, but they need to pound that ball down the neck and throat of that Bombers defense. If they can do that, that'll set up Trey Ford to find the easy targets downfield. Now, interestingly enough, we had Derek Taylor, who is the voice of the Blue Bombers out in Winnipeg. He was on the Reed Wilkins show this week. And he made a note that I couldn't, as a former defensive back and a defensive-minded person, it kind of shocked me that they are consistently dropping 7 or 8 defenders back into coverage. So to me, that means, okay, if you're not going to respect the league-leading rushing game and attack, go ahead, drop them all back. But that means there could be a real opportunity here for them to use Justin Rankin and Kevin Brown quite effectively.
Yeah, I don't know how you can do that against the Elks.
Are they going to do that today?
I just don't see how you can do that against this Elks team, where the strength of this team now has been the rushing. And I know there's no Javon Leake. And I would say of the duos/trios we've seen, the Kevin Brown and Justin Rankin, I think we saw it one time. It wasn't exactly the highest rushing game that we saw from the Elks. But you add Trey Ford into the mix here, there's a lot of different ways to attack when it comes to the rushing. I just don't see how they're going to do that. If they do, I don't see how the Elks don't march down the field over and over and over.
We'll know early in the game. We'll know early in the game if they're sticking to that game plan.
To me, it would be a full bend, don't break defense from the Bombers, because the Elks should be able to march to at least the 20-30 of Winnipeg. And then when the field shortens, then the running's not there, because if you drop people back, they're still so close. But the Elks should be in field goal range so many times. If they do that, I'd just be stunned if that's what we get from the Bombers today.
I would be too. I will say that. I would be as well. But here's the other question, is that Trey Ford has not played in, 3.5 football games? Or is it 4.5?
4.5.
4.5 football games. Is there any rust? Is there any, just getting back into the rhythm of things? Now, thankfully, they've had a bye week.
He did come in the end of the Calgary game.
Yeah,
he did have a couple, and he had that one nice spinorama as the defender was coming.
That's a good point, Matty.
So is that enough?
I don't know if it is enough. And here's another scary stat that I saw. And, I personally believe, and just look at what happened in the Labor Day game in the rematch, okay? That was the first time in 22 years that Edmonton has swept that series. So while I'm going to tell you this stat, I'm saying it. I'm cautiously optimistic that it's going to be reversed tonight. But Edmonton is 0-7 after byes, dating back to September of 21, and Winnipeg is 7-0 in that same time, coming off of byes. Both teams are coming off of byes, but I believe the green and gold juju is on our side, Matty, or their side. And that's going to be reversed today, because this is a different team. I've talked about it all week. This is a team that won both those games, and albeit it was against up and down, a very let's face it, Calgary is just not scaring anybody right now. But they did time at Montreal, but they took the games that they had to, right? They did the job they needed to do. So I think this team is capable of it. I've said it. I still stand by it. I believe that this is a game that they can take, and they can take control of if they stick to that ground and pound offense and then open it up for Trey Ford and Curly Gittins Jr. and Tevin Jones and Mitchell and Gino, your boy Gino, I could see that happening, but all these things will be quite clear. I'd say through the first quarter, you'll know pretty quick how this game's going to go.
The second story of this game, this will lead to. You have an idea of where I'm going to go when it comes to my key to an Elks victory. This game, to me, is not going to be one when the Edmonton Elks are on the offensive side of the field, where their offense is on the field. It's going to be one when their defense is on the field, because the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, their defense is legit. Their offense, question marks. Lots of question marks when it comes to their offense. Their offensive line hasn't been as good this year. They've lost some players through free agency, including Hardwick to the Saskatchewan Roughriders. They've also dealt with some injuries, though, on the defensive line. Zach Collaros has not looked anything close to being Zach Collaros that we've remembered from the last few seasons. Yes, Brady has been a very good running back for the team, second in the Canadian Football League coming into this weekend in terms of rushing yards, but the amount of touchdowns he has this season, both receiving or rushing, big zero. They don't have Dalton Schoen. He's hurt. They still got some nice receivers. Kenny Lawler's there. Nick Dembski, he's been fine this season, but Nick Dembski hasn't been as big and as flashy as a player as he has been in the past. Whereas then you look on the other side of things, the Edmonton Elks defense, they haven't been what they've been in the past few years. They've been good. They've been really good. They lead the turnover battle, plus 16, which, according to the CFL, might make you 9th best in the Canadian Football League.
There was a couple real anomalies on that stat sheet today.
But plus 16, it's absolutely ridiculous how you could, when you have that. At the start of the year, like the first few weeks, I think they were like -2, -3 or something. The turnaround that they've had, how good that defense has been to, at the very least, bend but not break. Ever since Jason Shevers really was able to fine-tune with this team as we got into August. This is where we're going to find out who the Edmonton Elks, I think, are and whether they're capable of being the Bombers. If you can go take advantage of this Bombers offense that isn't the Bombers offense of the last few years, I think the Elks will be able to having a good night tonight. But it comes down to, can that defense continue the play that they've done that we've seen over the last 7 weeks, 6 weeks, 5 to 6, 6 weeks? Or are they going to allow Zach Collaros, keep them close in the game, and then Zach Collaros comes with that killer drive to end it all?
Well, and here's the interesting thing when you're breaking down this matchup, is if you look at Winnipeg's offense, it's very dull. It's terrible. It's the worst in the CFL. If you look at Edmonton's offense, it's in most ranks, it's number 1.
I'll just interrupt here. Edmonton, 1 offensive points in the Canadian Football League, averaging 29.3. Winnipeg last, averaging 20.9.
Okay.
Just add on your point.
Edmonton's offense over Winnipeg's offense, that goes to Edmonton. Edmonton's defense versus Winnipeg's defense, that goes to Winnipeg's defense by a slim margin. Edmonton's defense has turned around, and even though they had that terrible start, they are 2nd and 3rd in most defensive categories right now. So you look at those matchups, that to me still favors Edmonton. Then you come down to the third facet of the game, which is special teams. That is what I'm, concerned about.
Oh, you go to the special teams then.
Of course, Castillo is on fire. That is a big advantage. Other than, I always do this. He's the best punter in the season.
Oh, Jake Julian?
Jake Julian.
I didn't know where you're going.
Other than Jake Julian, the kicking game has been atrocious. Very inconsistent. Whereas that is not. So, it's a blowout on offense for the Elks. Defense is pretty closely matched. Favor the special teams goes to the Winnipeg. So when you shake all this out, it's a very evenly matched game.
AC Leonard back with the Edmonton Elks. Last year he was, I think, tied in the league for sacks. He's listed as a 3rd stringer. Just signed this week to the team, or late last week. Do you think we'll see much of him? Do you think he could come in and have such an impact? Like we say Trey, he hasn't played really in 4 weeks or so. AC Leonard hasn't played since last season.
Is he going to make an impact? Maybe.
Could he?
Could he? Possibly. Am I depending on it for this team to win? No. But you look at the defensive line. There's 4 players on the field that are part of the defensive line at any given time. They're dressing 8 players on that defensive front. So AC Leonard may spell somebody off. He's 3rd on the depth chart behind Curtis and Joseph. So, is he going to make a huge play? I don't know. I'm not Nostradamus like Reed is. You should have seen him yesterday. But He will spell guys off. He will be able to keep that defensive motor running because obviously that is part of the game plan, is to shut down or try to limit Brady Oliveira and get to Zach Collaros. Make him uncomfortable.
I just looking. Those screens behind us on the screen look sharp through our camera.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
I'm sorry. I don't know what setting I did to the camera today.
You look good.
But our camera is just legit on point today, and those screens look marvelous through the YouTube. I'm sorry. I was obsessed by those.
Yeah, I hope you're just loving this rugby.
Well, it's rugby because they can't get CTV here.
Hey, we had a guest on our show yesterday from...
Montreal defeating Ottawa 24-12 today, by the way. Earlier. Sorry, continue.
Called it. We had a guy on our show yesterday from Steel Wheels Rugby Club.
Yeah.
He's a member of the Canadian wheelchair rugby team. And Reed put up a clip of these guys play. Have you ever seen it? Oh my! Yeah, you were there.
I was on the couch at Sit and Sleep. It was wonderful. Very comfortable.
That was nuts. That is aggressive. Very aggressive. I don't know why. I was surprised.
Todd Gack. No, I was Deacon St. John I was looking at. The Elks need to shut down Oliveira. The thing is, I don't think you need to shut him down.
Limit him. You're never going to shut him down.
Keep him out of the end zone like everyone else has done this season.
I wouldn't even say that. I would hold him to under 80 yards rushing. That's a victory.
Wow, he's actually been a good mix this year of like 50-50.
Or 80 all-purpose.
So all-purpose.
80 all-purpose. Sorry, Maddie. Yep.
Yeah, I'm pretty good in fantasy, and I have him on my fantasy team, so I'm okay with that. I should win.
Who gives a flying you-know-what about your flipping fantasy team?
Well, I do.
Yeah,
I'm trying to win. I'm trying to win.
Who cares?
I'm one of the hosts of this show, so I get to say what I want to say when it comes to that.
That's true. You do have a microphone, although I could mute it here. No, just kidding.
I'll just yell loud enough to get through your mic.
Actually, I do care because I don't want Lucas to win a third championship in a row.
Why are you going against Lucas? Second. He would be second.
No, I just like parity.
I will say the one concern that I do have about the Elks is that Brady does. It seems like he does well against this franchise. And Kenny Lawler always seems to score a touchdown against this franchise, it seems. And with that said, you saw something yesterday with those two guys.
I thought we weren't going to bring this up.
I didn't say that.
Oh, I thought you said wait till next week.
No, I was hoping that they'd... I was speaking from a fantasy perspective for me.
Oh, my gosh.
I wanted them to do it next week. So save it. Don't do it this week. Save it for next week when I need it, when I go up against Lucas.
Jeez, okay. So they had
No, I was being very selfish in that moment.
Okay. Now it's all coming back to me. They had a tape on TSN that came out. I think it was on Twitter where the Brady Oliveira and Kenny Lawler were comparing which touchdown celebration is better. Oh my gosh, how did they both allow that to happen? That's got bulletin board material written all over it. And B, I would never do that. I would not want that out there. Focus on the game. You're talking about which touchdown celebration is better? I hope that comes to bite them in the you-know-what tonight. Kind of like how Forrest got bit in the butt.
Our third story of this game for James H. Brown, Alberta Injury Lawyers. Matt Iwanyk and Jay Milne with here on the Green and Gold Kickoff Show on Edmonton's Sports Talk, your clear choice for Edmonton sports. It is the playoff race, and the implications that today has. Yesterday's result of the Saskatchewan Roughriders defeating the Calgary Stampeders wasn't the best result for the Edmonton Elks. Particular because, no matter what, the Edmonton Elks cannot be sitting in a playoff spot after this weekend. Two, if the Edmonton Elks lose today, I always have to look at that negative part of this.
Yep.
They will then drop to 3 points out of a playoff spot, having to go to Winnipeg next week. Edmonton, Saskatchewan, they still have to play one more time, so there's your 2-game swing, but the Elks then would need to make up one more point if they were to lose this week.
Big game.
This is a great team that we've seen over the last few weeks, but because of the start of the season, it doesn't matter how great you've been this last year or these last 6 weeks. Your whole season comes into the record. The Elks really need to go get this game if they want to. A split against Winnipeg is a must. You cannot get swept by the Winnipeg Blue Bombers if this team really wants to make the playoffs. And you also don't want to have that pressure having to go to Winnipeg to salvage the split when you're going to have 26,000 at home cheering you on.
That's why I said that this is a must-win game. I think this is a must-win game. Have I said it before this season? Yes, because they have had several must-win games to get to where they are. I just want to take the pressure off and get the split now and go hunting for the sweep next week.
The flip side to this, if the Elks go win, they do sit 1 point behind the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Half a point. Well, I guess 1 point, sure.
1 point.
1 point, yep.
They also would sit 2 points back of both Winnipeg and BC for first in the CFL West.
It's a huge game.
They would have the season series at the moment against Saskatchewan, but that doesn't matter. The winner of that game, when they meet, will get the season series. They have the season series against BC, and if they then were to go beat Winnipeg next week, they would have the season series in that one. But also, if the Elks win tonight, how much they win by
what a call,
is going to be important, because if they then go win this weekend and they lose next weekend, the tiebreaker will be decided by who won by greater number of points.
Wow.
The implications of this game are so significant. We could be talking about an Elks team stumbling down that mountain a little bit as they're trying to get to the top of the mountain, or we could be talking about after this weekend the idea that they could see the very tippy top of the mountain and it's not that far away. It's absolutely incredible that we're in this spot, and it's exciting that we're in this spot, but what a nervous time for the Double E.
Well, and that's why, we'll get to my keys to the game in a bit, but it does have something to do with a consistent theme that this team has presented over the, last, 6 games where they're 5-1. There is a theme to it, and I'll get to it, and I believe if they have that happen tonight, they will do exactly that and come out victorious.
Crossover-wise, the Elks do sit 2 games. They'd be a game and a half back of Toronto for a crossover as well if they win today. But they're closer to Winnipeg and BC. That's the thing. Next week, I believe BC has Hamilton. Saskatchewan's got Ottawa, and you got the Edmonton-Winnipeg game to start next week, which will be next Friday. So it's going to be fascinating to watch. And I think, as of right now, Calgary, they're done. They're finished.
I think they're done.
They should go try to find a quarterback, a younger quarterback, and start playing them. Maybe give Bonner a chance again. Give him a little more time and see what happens. You want some stuff in the nasty chat?
Yeah, Tacona Pauly says Bombers have the tiebreaker against every team in the West. Oh, I see. He said up till now. Yeah, this is the last one. And Edmonton could get the tiebreaker over Saskatchewan if
they could have it against everyone.
They could have it against everybody in the West.
They have it right now against everyone in the West.
Yeah.
Up until now against Winnipeg, because they beat Saskatchewan by more than Saskatchewan beat Edmonton. So as of right now, they actually hold that tiebreaker against Saskatchewan. It doesn't matter though, because they got that tie. So I don't think we're going to see Edmonton and Saskatchewan we'll have to deal with the tiebreaker because of that 1 point, unless the Elks find a way to tie a game or Saskatchewan finds a way to tie a second game this season, which would be wild.
How many ties have there been now? 3?
2.
That's too many.
Yeah.
Ties in football.
I'd agree.
What are we doing?
They should almost, if they want to
play it out.
I would adopt. I hate it. I do kind of hate it in college football. I wish they just kept going. I'd actually. You've played
such a hard game.
Play more
to end up in a tie.
Play more extra overtimes.
Yeah, keep it going, baby. I like that.
Yeah, you have to go for 2 if you score a touchdown.
Yeah, I know.
So at some point, we're not gonna have it forever. Or you could do the college way, which I kind of don't like. After I think it's 2 overtimes, they just do a 2-point conversion shootout.
Yeah, sure.
So you just have to.
What about penalty kicks, where they just start on the 25 and start going back till one of the kickers misses?
You really want a game to come down to Boris Beatty's foot?
No, I'm not talking about the Elks. I'm talking about just in general. End it in a victory, one way or another. Somebody has to win. Somebody has to lose. Don't get me started on winning and losing, Maddie. In sports, it's part of life. Except if it's certain sports like soccer. No, draws are important. Draws. That's why Manchester United deserved the win today. They didn't score them, so ultimately they dropped 2 points and they got their draw. Okay, Sean in the EST inbox, staring at EST and WST. Cool bet parlays. Which one should I go for, boys? Well, that's pretty simple. It depends which team you are cheering for today. Or who do you think's going to win? Or do you think Edmonton's going to win? Well, actually, no, because we have the Elks at +1.5. So the Bombers could still win that. Yeah, I just we're a safer bet, I would say, than Huss's. Well, his is reaching quite a bit. It's +520
528 or whatever. We're plus 275 in that mark.
I'd still go with ours.
Let's get to our cool bet props of the game. I'll run through our parlay. You just go to coolbet.com, click on exclusives. This is the Edmonton Sports Talk parlay. Elks plus 1.5. Eugene Lewis 4+ catches. Trey Ford 35+ rushing yards. He also throws for a touchdown pass plus 275. We wanted that turnover in there, and they couldn't get it done. Winnipeg Sports Talk parlay was Brady Olivier 100+ all-purpose yards. Kenny Lawler anytime. Well, not all-purpose yards, rushing and rec yards. Kenny Lawler anytime TD and Bombers to win plus 525. When you look at the parlay, and I wonder if they added this because I've never seen it before, but they just forgot to put it to our parlay. They have a total turnovers committed by the Winnipeg Blue Bombers over and under set at 0.5. I wonder if they just forgot to add that to our parlay. What are you looking at for a prop of the game?
I've got the one that shot out right away is that I noticed that Gavin Cobb is getting the start again. So keep in mind that this is a bit of a flyer. I'm not necessarily saying, hey, go bet the farm on this. I just like...
It's called the sprinkle.
It's sprinkle. I just like the payout on it. It's plus 350 for a Gavin Cobb TD. So, I mean, $10 turns into $35, or for Maddie, 10 cents turns into 35 cents. I mean, well, let's say 50 cents would turn into, what, 350? $1.70? No. I'm just trying to say, so you have some money to bet the horses. $1.75. So you could.
So I'd have $2.25 total.
Yeah, $2.25. So you would have.
Yeah,
some
well, my
money
$4 horse bet already turned to $7.11 or something like that. So take that.
Yeah, Maddie's racking them up right now.
1-0 already.
So Gavin Cobb TD plus 350. I'm riding on that. I think he's due. Trey Ford and him have a history as well. They hooked up when Trey Ford first started getting playing time, and he is starting. Last time Trey Ford was playing, he was on the depth chart, but he wasn't starting. But with the injury to Herji Mayala, he is playing now. So I do also like the double E over 23.5 points. So that is sitting at minus 108. So it's not quite as favorable as the Gavin Cobb touchdown, but I think whoever wins this game is going to score 25. Even if I think this is going to be a pretty high-scoring game. I think both teams are going to be into the mid-20s, even the losing team, and I believe the team that wins is going to be in the mid to low 30s. There, I said it.
So what was the last one again? You talked about a lot of things.
Edmonton over 23.5 points total.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
I don't get it.
That should be a lot higher with where they are. And with where that team is looking at. That was one I was looking at, so I guess I can't use that because you went with 2 this week.
Oh,
before I could go with 1. Before I could go with 1, you go with that one. Thanks.
Well, then
Thanks,
back
Jay.
me up. Ride
Appreciate
with Jay.
That.
Riding with Jay.
I'm going to look at Trey Ford passing.
Okay.
Over 1.5 touchdown throws is plus 145. If this is a high-score game, we saw with MBT, this team could put up a couple touchdowns.
I like it.
We saw it when Trey Ford came in with Saskatchewan. How many touchdowns did he throw in that game? We saw this season what we've seen in that very limited time is he could throw touchdown passes. Against the Hamilton Tiger Cats, when he came in relief, he threw for 3 touchdown passes. Against Saskatchewan, he threw for 2. BC, he got hurt in that first half, so he didn't continue. To get him at 2 touchdown throws or more, you're plus money at plus 145. So that 50 cents that you want a reference of mine would turn into... Oh, click the wrong one there. This is the one I want. Those 50 cents goes to 73 cents I win. I get $1.23.
Hey, big spender. I'm riding with you on Trey Ford over 1.5 points. I think it's the value there. Or 1.5 touchdown passes. I think the value is there.
I wish we could do a bet builder.
And I think, I'm obviously, listening, watching, you can get the sense that I'm optimistic that Edmonton is going to come out and take control of this game. They're going to have to run the ball well, but I think at some point Trey's going to, if Trey can just be Trey and create havoc for that defense, who is really they haven't played against a quarterback like Trey Ford yet this year. The closest would be Vernon Adams, but Trey Ford's different. There's nobody else like Trey Ford in the league. I like that. I'm going to ride with you, Matty.
I'm putting $5 on both. Happy?
What are you on the over 23.5 points too?
And the over 1.5.
I don't know if this is good or bad, but if we win on both these bets, we got to do this continually. It'll be a thing.
Which one am I going to add the multiplier on?
Sprinkle.
Because Coolbet has a multiplier.
Yeah,
One
I
bet on the
noticed
CFL you can get. So I'm gonna add that to my Trey Ford. I'm going to go with that. Doing this live. It's great radio. This is what you do. This is what you do. And then the Elks one, I'm going to do 5 on that one.
Well,
and one of the reasons I could do that is the lock shop parlay that Dusty and I built. Well, actually, Dusty and I built. I won for anyone that jumped on board with us. We had the Ticats plus 7.5. We had the Riders money line and the Alouettes minus 2.5. That one cashed at plus 525 just moments ago or a little bit ago. So
I
got a little bit of extra cash to play with.
And Andrew Lamouche in the nasty chat, after an 0-7 start, it'd be quite the season if the Elks could actually give themselves a shot at the playoffs. When was the last time a team starting 0-7 made the playoffs? Well, we talked about it a little earlier in the story, and the short answer is never. That's never happened. So this would be historical if Edmonton could somehow come back and make the playoffs, which would require them, out of these next 5 games, they'd have to win at least 3 of them, if not 4, to do that. And if they won 3 and had some things happen their way, they could get in.
Yeah,
4 they're in. Hi, Merle.
3. It all depends on Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
Saskatchewan's not running the table.
Hey, if
I
they
don't
win
think the rest
3,
of the way.
all we're thinking is hashtag Glue Crew getting over that 6.5 wins, baby.
Oh, yeah.
We're still hunting that, too.
You just need 2.
I know, but
Wow.
3, we're laughing.
Wasn't supposed to be a sweater, but here we are.
A what?
A sweater. Wasn't supposed to be one.
He was sweating it out. Yeah, I know.
But here we are, and they're doing
That's
it.
funny how those
They're
odds
doing it.
makers know exactly what they're doing, eh?
Well, I don't think
They probably didn't.
0-7.
They probably didn't forecast 0-7. They were probably laughing at that point.
Thinking they were going to win. Man, look at that rugby game behind us. It looks great on our screen. We need to go get to our keys to an Elks victory, as well as our Jay's prediction for the game. Maybe Merle will have a prediction for the game. I don't know. No Frank here, no Sandy here, so they can't make predictions. And I definitely don't make predictions. Before we do that, let's hear from Kevin Brown, the running back for the Edmonton Elks, who spoke with the media earlier this week.
Like getting all the rust off and off the bye, and I mean, obviously the joy and confidence of this group hasn't diminished. But tell me about getting ready to play this big game.
I mean, the bye week was nice. I get the rest and just sleep in. The confidence is, it's always been there. Mm-hmm. But now we're just seeing how, we actually buy in and, everybody playing on the same level. And that's the offense, defense, special teams, all playing at a high level and doing the little things right. We're literally unstoppable.
I've asked several players about how do you handle the start. And I think it was Devondrick Bynum on our postgame show that offered up that we remember 0-7. We don't want to forget it. Mm-hmm. It's a chip on our shoulder. And, Gino Lewis said the other day, we're not far removed from 0-7. So hasn't that been kind of a motivator of, look, we got to keep this roll going? There's several things that keep you motivated, obviously, but is 0-7 one of those factors? Because you were so close in those games too, right?
Yeah. It was definitely a motivator, and it definitely, it put definitely a chip on our shoulders. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I feel like with that being said, and we know, like you just said, it was a close game. It's like a field goal, maybe 1 touchdown, or like maybe a minute after the game, they get it down. So us knowing how good we were and just losing by just that small little, point, it shows that we can, win games. It's just doing the little things right and executing the plays.
Tell me about going back to Trey Ford from McLeod, who played pretty well for 4.5 games. It's nice to know you have 2 quarterbacks, but with number 2 back there, what difference does that make?
I think it makes a lot of difference because Trey is a runner and he's also a threat in the air also. So having him back there, I think it will help me tremendously in the run game as well, because you can't forget about Trey. And then if you do forget about Trey, he's going to make you pay for it. Right. But then if you forget about me or J Rank, we're going to make you pay for it anyways. Mm-hmm. And then he could sling the ball too. So there's that. He's a dual threat. Mac, he's an air raid guy. I mean, he will take off if he needs to, but I don't think that's a strong suit, and I think he knows that. But, those 2 are tremendous, but they bring different things to the table in the game. And to switch it up, it's going to put the defense on their heels. Yeah.
How much improvement have you seen from Trey as being from a pure quarterback standpoint? Even though I know you don't play it, but what have you seen from even last year, year before? What's the biggest difference?
I'll see the biggest difference. He doesn't take off as much anymore.
Right.
He tries to let the play develop, scrambles, try to stay in the backfield, give the receivers a chance to get open or just to make a play on a 50-50 ball.
Yeah.
And versus last season where if it wasn't open, he was just going to take off and run. So I feel like that's the biggest improvement that I've seen with him.
He's using your legs to run and then using your legs to influence the pocket.
Yeah.
So here you are. This is the biggest game of the year. You would say that no matter who you're playing. But
right.
The opportunity playing the Bombers, who, maybe not as good of a year, but they're still the Bombers.
Yeah.
So how much of a measuring stick is this for you, and how much of a measuring stick do you think it is for them?
I feel like it's a lot. What do you mean by measuring stick, dog?
Well, I mean, they're still the Bombers, right?
Yeah.
But you are one of the hottest teams, if not the hottest team in the league. So it seems like it's a measuring stick both ways.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, they're the Bombers. They have a great running back, Brady Oliveira. I believe that's how you say his name. I don't know. The defense, their defense, secondary, they're great. They got threats, in the passing game and as well in the running game. And then same for us. So I feel like it's going to be a great even match. It's going to be a close game. So it's about who makes the less mistakes and makes the big plays that will come out on top.
And establishing another win at home here. It'll be a third straight win at home.
Dang, for real? See, I don't pay attention. I just care if we win or not.
Hasn't happened in a long time.
Yeah, but let's make it a third. Let's do it.
And that was Kevin Brown, the running back for the Edmonton Elks, speaking with the media earlier. Have a good one, sir. He was holding our table earlier.
What a gentleman and a scholar.
Kind about that. Some breaking news from the game at Commonwealth Stadium from Derek Taylor, the voice of the Blue Bombers. Bombers linebacker Kyrie Wilson will not play tonight versus Edmonton. He didn't make it through warm-ups. Michael Ayers will take Wilson's spot in the starting lineup. I was just looking at some stats about him.
We would have known that, or known who his backup was if they gave us a depth chart.
Well, but even then, he hasn't played since July.
Starting linebackers out.
Maybe so they were thinking he was going to be ready or something, but maybe not. But I'm looking at the defensive stats here. He hasn't played since July 20th.
What about your rushing yards bet now? Hey?
I don't.
Well, that's a big difference if you don't have one of your starting linebackers.
I want to find the injury report. Was he on the injury report for the Bombers? A shoulder. He was a full participant, so yeah, they were expecting him to play today, I guess, and all of a sudden he can't go. So a little bit of a blow to the BC Lions is practicing with one person all week, and in the end they make that switch to the middle linebacker. Your keys to an Elks victory, Mr. Jay Milne.
Like I said earlier, this has been a consistent theme during the hot streak that Edmonton has been on, is to score early and get the lead and hold on to it through halftime. Go into halftime with a lead and good things happen. So, if they can, and they also have to limit Winnipeg from answering early. Get up a double-digit lead, which Winnipeg has not had once this year. In their winning streak, they have not had a double-digit lead early. So if Edmonton can do that and get out early, that is a key to a victory for me. Matthew?
I am looking at the Edmonton Elks defensive line taking on the Winnipeg Blue Bombers offensive line. In that the Edmonton Elks defensive line, can they get to Zach Collaros? This O-line has not been the Bombers' O-line of the past. As I mentioned earlier, players have left. They've got some injuries that they were dealing with. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers this season, they're about middle of the pack. They've allowed 25 sacks, whereas the Edmonton Elks, they're about middle of the pack of how many sacks that they've gone out and gotten. They have AC Leonard now part of this team. We'll see if he draws in at all with any of this. But if the Edmonton Elks are going to win, they need to get to Zach Collaros, because Zach Collaros, we've seen it this season. When I'll go back to the game against Hamilton a couple weeks ago for them, where he threw 3 interceptions. He doesn't make the best decisions always when he's pressured, but that O-line isn't there. That if you get to him, he's not going to be able to have time to get to Kenny Lawler. He's not going to have time to get to Nick Stemsky. And Brady could only do so much when you're getting to the quarterback. If all they could do is run at that point, you could stop that, or you could contain that. Get to Zach Collaros, and it'll make things a lot easier for the Edmonton Elks defense overall. That is my key, because this Bombers defense or offensive line, it's there. The holes are there. The spots are there to exploit it. You got to go find it. You got to go do it. And the Edmonton Elks, that's how they're going to win this football game.
Well, and we discussed it. I mean, Edmonton is stacking up on defensive line. This is the most defensive linemen they've dressed all year. So I'm very confident that the game plan is to get after Zach Collaros, to stop and limit that run game. And, that's when good things happen on defense. And obviously on offense is to score early and hold that lead, get into halftime with a lead. And that has bode well for this Edmonton team this season.
I forgot I made a bet before the race.
Before
the game, so I got to go check that ticket right away.
You want to check it live
come
before
join
we
us
sign off?
first, come join us Central Casino Sports Bar Lounge, where every day is game day. The daily special today is prime rib sandwich. You can get the game day special, which is the cheese and jalapeno smoky for $14.99 with the waffle fries that work with vinegar. But their menu is absolutely wonderful. Come join us and watch the game on these wonderful TVs that are behind us.
Crystal clear.
Hang out with Jay and I. But if you can't get here for today, we'll be back for the post-game show as well. But we'll be here for the watch party next week. You want me to go check this ticket?
Yeah. Let's see
what do you
Maddie.
think?
Okay,
I have 5 and 8 to place.
So all they got to do is place or better. Yep. We didn't even watch it because we're dedicated to the show, obviously. So we're gonna see if Maddie. Oh no! Oh boy, he threw it out. He threw out the ticket.
Not a winner. Not a winner. But I won my first one of the day.
You did.
I won my first one. I
total.
want the Del Mar races to get going, though. I love the Del Mar. And where's Sandy? I don't care where Frank is, but where's Sandy?
Well, and there was a horse right here racing, and I'm a big gray guy. Like to bet the grays. And we're listening to the Kevin Brown, and I'm like, oh my gosh, the gray's running. And he blows everybody away, wins. Guess what the horse's name was?
I forgot.
Seize the Gray.
Seize the Gray, that's what it was. I knew I had gray in it. I forgot what it was. So come join us. But also, thanks to everyone for tuning in to the Green and Gold Kickoff Show right here on Edmonton Sports Talk, your clear choice for Edmonton sports. The game's coming up on TSN. If you're not at that game, one of the 26,000 or so that will be there, you get to listen to the wonderful sounds of one Dustin Nielsen calling this game with, I believe, Glenn Suter and Ryan Rashog roaming the sidelines, I would assume. That's all coming up on TSN, but be sure to tune in right back here at Edmonton Sports Talk, EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Tune in, iHeartRadio, or on YouTube once this game is over, as we will have the Green and Gold post-game show recapping the action from Commonwealth Stadium. Thanks again to everyone for tuning in to the Green and Gold Kickoff Show. Enjoy the football game, and we'll talk to you once it's over.